good. It's a triple-double for Bella Earl.
Goes matched up with a speedy guard. Great screen, spin move, layup, he missed it. Williamson fights for the board. His putback is good.
I think I need to have a voiceover, Daryl, on that intro, like to introduce the show. What do you think? Does everybody think that way? What do you think?
Yeah, we probably do it somehow.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if
go ahead.
I don't know if we know anybody who can do voiceover work, but
yeah, we'll see. If anybody wants to volunteer for voiceover for our intro on the Straight Outta WAC After Hours, comment in the comment section. We'll see what we can do. Anyways, welcome to Saturday's Straight Outta WAC After Hours. We just got finished watching Grand Canyon beat Tarleton State 88-64 in Phoenix. A lot of fouls called. 46 fouls, 27 on Tarleton, 19 on GCU. That game took a long time to finish because of all the whistles. We also got done watching the Tarleton women and GCU women. The GCU women winning their, what is it? 15th straight game tonight, sweeping the West Texas road trip, with a 57-53 win over Tarleton State in Stephenville. Kind of a wild day. I'm going to show you some clips. You can maybe make your decision here. These are 4 dunks that I pulled off social media, from the team's social media. And you can, let me know which one you like as we get going on the show. Here's I hope I say this. Huron Dan from Seattle U with his dunk.
Dan, wide open.
Couple of possessions.
That's a killer for the Wildcats.
And a thunderous slam from Silverstein.
Sorry, that was Sam Silverstein from CBU. Obviously, the audio was a little off there with the video. And then we got Colin Moore's baseline.
Williams, Moore, baseline drive. Bam!
You got to love Barry Butel. Bam! The call. And then my favorite, and maybe I'm a little biased on this, but Carter Welling and the call by Brandon Crow on the ESPN Plus broadcast might be my favorite. Woo! Woo! It's like Ric Flair right there. Did you hear that? That was like Ric Flair.
yeah.
Utah Valley earlier in the day really put the clamps down in the second half against Utah Tech. They trailed 42-40 at the break. Utah Tech was out hustling, a little bit more physical, getting on the glass and attacking. But then Utah Valley just kind of went to work in the second half, scored 56 points in the second half at the UCCU Center, en route to their season high total of 96 points and a 96-80 win over the Trailblazers in the Old Hammer Rivalry. Tanner Toulson finished with 18 points. Dom Nelson had 15, very balanced scoring. Trevin Lenhart had 14 points, all in the second half. He went 4 of 6 from the field, 3 of 4 from 3-point land. And so they needed him to score, and that was a key difference in the second half. It was just, I remember John Judkins at one point said we were within 2 or 3 and we're going to lose by 20. It was just crazy how that worked out. He's like, we're going to lose by 20 again. And they lost by 20 at Seattle U, kind of in the same way. The final 10 minutes of the ball game got away from them, and it was the same thing on Saturday. So big win there. Guys, comment on what you think your team, or how you feel about your teams right now. ACU 0-4 in WAC play on the men's side. Brett Tanner's team had a chance to knock off CBU tonight, but they just couldn't make plays down the stretch in that ball game. Dom Daniels made some plays, and CBU hit free throws down the stretch. So we have 2 winless teams at 0-4 on the men's side in WAC play. I think there's only one team that's winless on the women's side, right, Daryl?
Yep, because Southern Utah got off the snide today.
Yeah, with their win over Seattle U at the AFEC down there in Cedar City. It was a sweep again for two schools. Both the GCU men and women swept Tarleton State, and Utah Valley swept the Old Hammer Rivalry with their wins over Utah Tech. Dan Nielsen's squad getting the road win. I think road teams were 3-1 today on the women's side.
Yeah, because let's see, GCU, ACU,
And Utah Valley.
Utah Valley. Yep, that's right.
Yeah, on the women's side, 3-1. And then home teams on the men's side were 3-1. How weird is that? That's so weird.
The dynamic this year is just very weird.
It is. Let's look at some of these comments coming in. Jason Waters, I still like what Tarleton is. We're going to say Tarleton State because I got it specifically from their president. We're going to say Tarleton State is capable of. I won't judge it off a game in Phoenix. I agree with you, and GCU has played well these two games at home. So, you can't fault them there. The thing is, did that loss at Utah Valley last Thursday awaken a sleeping giant? I think so, because they won by 30 against ACU, and then they won by 24 tonight. So I think awoke a sleeping giant. Mikey Chavez, GCU finally moving the ball and looking connected. Yeah, it looks a little bit better. They had 22 assists, according to the stats. 22 assists on 23 made baskets tonight. That's
you can't do a whole lot better than that.
Yeah, that's pretty darn efficient, right? Let's see. Alex Small, nice to see Christophilus get it going tonight. Yeah, I mean, Seattle U throttled Southern Utah at the Red Hawk Center tonight, 75-52, and it wasn't ever even close. Seattle U had a 25-point lead at halftime.
Oh my.
Yeah, that's how bad it was. Christophilus went for 18 points, 8 of 14 from the field. Matthew Alexander, Moncrief, kind of a quiet 10 and 5 tonight. After a pair of 22 and I think it was 23 and 12 on last Saturday and 25 and 11 or something like that on Thursday. So quiet night for me. But yeah, Seattle U, geez, their starters. Christophilus played 24 minutes. Malik Arrington played 23 minutes. Matthew Alexander Moncrief played 21. And Kobe Williamson played 16. And Paris Dawson played 14. That's how ugly this game was at the Red Hawk Center.
Chris Victor got a lot of run for his bench tonight.
Yeah. Braden Maldonado played 25 minutes. Boz Panja played 16. Will Heimbrecht played 19. It was total domination from Seattle U tonight. 31. Well, they got out rebounded. So I don't know if I want to say total domination, but I mean, they shot nearly 58% from the field in the first half. 48 for the game, and Southern Utah just never got it going at all. Rob Jeter's team falls to 1-3 in WAC play. Chris Victor's squad won all 3 home games on the 3-game homestand, so they're 3-1.
Exactly what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. Cody, GCU looked good today. I love how these last 2 games they have been full court pressing. Sometimes that's what gets you going in the mojo. And I think, and this is just my personal opinion, if you've watched these last 2 games, Micaiah Williams is going to be their point guard going forward. He is a true point guard. That's his position. And that allows Ray Harrison to play off the ball, which is better for him. And it allows them to have more depth on the bench with Tyon coming off the bench with Luke War. And they got Trevar Jackson, who decided to burn his red shirt because of the JUCO ruling that now he gets that extra year regardless if you red shirts or not. So, I don't know what's going on there, but I mean, there's more depth on that GCU bench now than there was maybe 2 weeks ago. So, also Gillespie was pissed the whole game. Yeah, I told you if he would have gotten thrown out, it wouldn't have surprised me. But he didn't get over, and you could see him smiling at times, knowing that maybe the whistle wasn't going to be as favorable as if they were playing in Stephenville. So, I watched that too. But I think a lot of it was he was pissed at his team because they weren't defending like they usually do. Credit to GCU for attacking and hitting threes to kind of like make them defend a little differently, which they still didn't defend. What have you heard on the Jermaine Kimbrough situation? Assistant coach at GCU. He hasn't been on the bench. I think Richard Aubert tweeted something out about that. He's a GCU beat writer for the Arizona Republic. He tweeted something out earlier today. I think it was on an article.
Last thing I read was that they were going to update the situation sometime next week.
I'm trying to find it here. There was a tweet that he put out. I remember, I think I retweeted it too. There was something that he said about it that like Bryce Drew was going to address it another time, not today or not Thursday night or whatever when they were. I swear there was something. Yeah. It says GCU top assistant Jermaine Kimbrough, who came over from Arizona State in the offseason, was not on the bench Thursday. Bryce Drew was asked about Kimbrough's absence. He did not say why, but would update that at a later time. So I don't know what that means, but that's your answer, right? For you, Alec. And then Mikey Chavez, Kai is at point guard so helpful, and it looks like Ray is back now that he's moved to the 2. Kai over dribbles at times, but he's not a hero ball guy. He wants to be a floor general and make sure everybody gets going. So you have to love that change in the lineup that Bryce Drew has made, at least for these 2 games. Now, it gets a little bit more challenging. I shouldn't say it gets more challenging. After what Southern Utah did tonight, I don't know that Grand Canyon going to Southern Utah is going to be a challenge because that's where Grand Canyon goes on Thursday, and then they go to Utah Tech on Saturday. So could be a challenge. Probably won't be. No offense to Southern Utah or Utah Tech, but they're not on that level that GCU is. So technically, it's a good time to be a Lopes fan because they got these 2 wins over the West Texas teams. They get 2 teams that are really kind of struggling in Utah Tech and Southern Utah, while Utah Valley has to go to California Baptist, and then Utah Valley has to go to Seattle U on Saturday. The good news for Utah Valley is they may get to Seattle before Seattle gets to Seattle because the Redhawks have to go to UT Arlington on Thursday and then come home and play Utah Valley. So like it's so bad. The schedule's so bad. That shouldn't happen. Anyways, so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens this week. I'm going to CBU on Thursday for Utah Valley at CBU. It's an ESPNU game.
Is Star Wars night in Riverside?
Is it? Oh yeah, That's right. It is. And so we may do a straight out of WAC after hours before that game, since it's going to be a late tip off on the Pacific coast. And I think it's 8 p.m. Pacific time. So we're going to go a little bit earlier Thursday. I guess my wife says it sounds like I'm yelling. So I apologize if it sounds like I'm yelling. But we're going to go Thursday night, maybe at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So that's 8 p.m. Mountain time, 9 p.m. obviously Central time. So we're going to do a pregame from Fowler Event Center. Yeah, I'm excited about that. So official TikTok has been banned. When you open the app, it doesn't allow you to view just one. I don't use TikTok, so I'm not really worried.
Neither do I.
Yeah, we don't have an account on TikTok, so not real worried about that. Thank you, though, Alec, for the message. Anyways, Daryl, let's talk about some women's games tonight. Southern Utah getting over the hump, finally getting a win in WAC play. ACU getting a road win over a depleted CBU squad. And GCU going on the road, battling a tough Tarleton team that just the Tarleton State that the Texans didn't get very many good looks down there. They got one good look on that 3-pointer, that game-tying 3-pointer.
Yeah.
But that was about it. Like
that was really the best look they had for the last minute or so of the game, minute and a half.
Yeah. Parking, but
I mean, if you hold GCU to 57 points, you should be able to win that game.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
ifs, ands, or buts, and an offer from the 3-point line.
Yep. But it shows, though, too, that the GCU women can win different ways, right? They can win by scoring a lot of points. They can also win by defending, right? And shutting a team's offense down. But like you said, if you hold a team to 57 points, you should be able to win a game. And Tarleton State wasn't able to do that at home tonight. So they finished an 0-2 week with their loss at California Baptist on Thursday, while GCU continues to stay at the top. And now they have a 1-game lead over California Baptist
and UT Arlington.
So Molly Miller's crew is kind of in the know right now. So
things are falling the right way for the Lopes right now. And in that, that ACU CBU game, that was just a battle of sides that were depleted because Peyton Hull did not play for the Wildcats today, injured in the GCU game. And the Wildcats were also without Mia Rivers, but Meredith Mays, what an afternoon, 24-9.
Yeah.
For ACU in that win, and Chloe Lemon tried her level best to keep CBU in that game with another 20 spot, but just couldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, when you're CBU and you're missing 2 starters, right? Anaya Tuua and Grace Schmidt were both out again, and then add into that Felipe Barros isn't going to play this year. I mean, that's basically 3 starters that you're down.
And almost 40 points.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. Like, and that's not a take away from what Abilene Christian and Meredith Mays did. It's just, if your teams that want to take advantage of the defending champs, now is probably your best bet. Because if Tua and Grace Schmidt get back on the floor at some point, they're
going to play spoiler for somebody if they get those 2 back.
Yeah, yeah.
Whether it's GCU or UT Arlington, they're going to spoil somebody's shot at that regular season title. And now that GCU has a game in hand by the skin of their teeth. But Kyle, let's talk about that 2-0 week for Utah Valley.
Yeah.
I mean, going into Burns, winning by 16, albeit over a Utah Tech side that is without the Warren twins. And then you beat UT Arlington, leading nearly cover to cover.
Yeah.
Dan Nielsen's bunch is playing some really good basketball right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a veteran squad. Like, he's got experience. I mean, Talia White's been there for 3 years now. Amanda Barcelo been there for 3 years now. Tessa Cheney for 3 years now. Ali Criddle for 3 years now. And then he brings in Donja Stafford Collins, who has had experience playing on the West Coast, right? And you just have so much experience there that you're able to play different styles. I mean, against UT Arlington, they scored a bunch of points in that win. What was it? It was like 80-something points.
Yeah, they hung a nearly 90 spot.
Yeah, it was 86 against the Mavs, and then they go and defend and hold Utah Tech to 46 today in St. George at the Burns Arena. So I think that's what's going to separate teams, I think, in women's basketball this year that want to compete with GCU for that, either a regular season or at WAC Vegas, is those teams that can play differing styles of basketball, where they can win a grinded out defensive battle, or they can score a lot of points if there's no defense being played, right? I really think that's what's going to separate teams, if they have the ability to play differing styles of basketball.
Yeah, and you have to in the WAC, because you have the up-tempo CBU, Utah Techs, even UTA to a degree is up-tempo.
Yeah.
And then you have, the Tarletons and the Utah Valleys who like to play slightly lower scoring games. But, Tarleton has shown they can get over that 70-point mark at various points this year in non-conference. So,
is it going to be consistent? That's the big thing. Is it consistent? I mean, they scored what, 53 tonight, and they scored
72 on Thursday.
Men's. Yeah, and they scored 72 in the loss to CBU on Thursday. So they can, but I just watching tonight, there's a struggle there to execute on offense at times for Tarleton State. So I know Bill Brock's got a team. He's the other thing that was crazy, and maybe it was Laura Erikstrup's defense Faith Acker didn't touch the ball at all late in that ball game.
No.
And
I thought they did a nice job fronting her and taking their entry angles away from her.
Yeah.
And then the big development, GCU was 0 for 14 from the 3-point line, but no Alyssa Durazo-Frescas tonight.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see if she's back this week at home. Maybe she was sick or something. Maybe she ate some bad Texas barbecue, but I don't think that's possible because Texas barbecue is always good. So, my buddy John said, Jim updates Kyle. Well, I didn't go yesterday. I didn't go today, so I kind of slacked, but getting back at it on Monday. You're at a hockey game. You shouldn't even be watching this. You Utah Hockey Club lover fan that spends way too much money on their gear. Yeah, that's my buddy John. We run a podcast, No Sauce Podcast. If you want to check it out on YouTube. Not that I'm trying to advertise that here, but since he commented, I decided to throw that out there. Anyways,
and then you have to feel really good for Southern Utah getting that first win over a Division I opponent. It's been just a struggle for Tracy Mason's team, as we've talked about on this show and throughout the year, and just to see them close one out. I mean, let's take a look at that box. Ava Urick 15-6-6.
There's still not enough offense for me to like Southern Utah right now. I mean, even Spencer McLaughlin there, the voice of the T-Birds, the broadcaster, he even said it was an ugly win. Like it's great to get a win, but it was ugly. I'm going to say it right now. I think these are the two teams that will be playing in St. George on March 11th. Yes, I really do. And that's just from watching them a couple times. I think these are the two teams. Unless something crazy happens, maybe Utah Tech plays in its own home gym. But I think it's going to come down to Utah Tech, Southern Utah, and Seattle U for those two spots in that playing game.
Utah Tech, though, has a win over, in conference play. I mean, it's only going to take, 5 wins to stay out of that playing game?
Maybe, but I don't know that any one of those three teams can get to 4 or 5 wins. It'll be hard to find 4 or 5 wins.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, maybe if one of them sweeps the other one, that's possible. But Southern Utah has to play Utah Tech twice, so somebody's getting wins there.
Yeah,
they all have to play each other twice, so maybe it is. But I mean, it's going to be hard to get wins, right? And winning on the road is tough for most teams in this league. So,
although not today, apparently.
Everybody, if you're watching, share your comments, share what you thought about your team's performances today. Again, it was kind of a mix of blowouts, at least on the men's side. There was one close game that was California Baptist at Abilene Christian. California Baptist just kind of finished on a little 6-0 run, 7-0 run to end the game.
And that's big for the Lancers to get something out of this trip because they let one get away at UVU.
Yep.
They had a 6-point lead on Thursday with 7 or 8 minutes left.
Something like that. So,
and then, they struggled in Stevendale. So you have to come out of those 3-game roadies with at least one.
Yep. It's kind of hard to get that split on that West Texas road trip, but they did. And Abilene Christian, again, falls to 0-4 there with UT Arlington right there at the bottom of the WAC standings right now. Again, their guards are not doing anything. If you're an ACU fan, you have to ask yourself, what is going on with our guards? Keon Williams had 12. Leo Bettiel had 12. Dontrez Williams had 10. But Hunter Jack Madden, again, scoreless. And that's a guy you depend on to hit 3-pointers. Rich Smith, another guard, 7 points. Nazar DeGrew, 2 points. There's just no you can't win games if you don't have guards that can score, and they don't have guards that can score consistently. Whereas CBU has Dom Daniels, has Adam Musa, has Sam Silverstein, has AJ Braun, has all these guys that can score. Martell Williams. That game on Thursday night in Riverside is going to be fantastic. It's the second time Utah Valley and CBU will play each other in
12 days.
Right? Todd Phillips mentioned that he's not looking forward to it because you want to play everybody once at least before you play a team twice. But this is the way the schedule is, and he's not complaining.
And I'm sure he's not the only coach that feels that way about these twice in 12, twice in 16.
He doesn't do schedules, so he's not going to complain about it. He's just going to get his team ready, and they're going to go play some basketball. So that's a big game for both teams. Utah Valley wants to stay atop the WAC standings, especially with a brutal road trip type deal coming up. We talked about this. They play at CBU on Thursday. They host they're at Seattle, on Saturday, and then they're at Grand Canyon February 1st.
It's like the West Coast Triangle.
Yeah. So big 3-game stretch here for Utah Valley. If they go 2-1 on it, which is going to be very, very tough.
I think Todd Phillips considers that a win.
Yeah, big time, right? Especially because now you've got Grand Canyon out of the way. That'll be their second game against Grand Canyon. You got CBU out of the way. That'll be their second game. So the crazy thing is they will play CBU, they will play Grand Canyon, and they will play UT Arlington twice before they have even played Tarleton State or Southern Utah. Tell me why that
works.
That shouldn't be happening at all. At all. Yeah. Let's see. Jason asked, who do you think is playing game on men's side? Ooh. I don't want to say UT Arlington, but man, somebody said this to me today. One of the Utah Valley people said UT Arlington's better than 0-4 on the men's side. ACU, I think, is going to be in St. George. I just, unless their guard play picks up, I just don't know where they're going to
stay away from that game.
Yeah. And I don't know, Jason. The way Southern Utah has looked in WAC play, I may go with the T-Birds right now. I liked what I saw at Utah Tech. They just got to put together 40 minutes. They are a physical team. They don't have a big, but they are a physical team that has a high basketball IQ. And I like John Judkins' team. So as much as I was high on Southern Utah, from what I've seen in WAC play, that's kind of changed a little bit, especially after tonight's performance. I get to see them on Saturday when they host who do they host on Saturday?
ECU.
Yeah, I get to see them on Saturday. No, when they host California Baptist. So I'm going to see California Baptist twice this week in person. So that'll be fun. Oh, okay, we're going to take a 30-second break, and then we're going to come right back. Let me get to the countdown. Yeah, so we're back straight out of WAC after hours here, late from Utah. It's 9:00 here on the Mount in the Beehive State, 8:00 where Daryl is in California, and 10:00 if you're in Texas. Obviously, Tarleton State fans just got done watching their men's team and their women's team get beat by GCU. Probably not a night that the Texan fans want to remember. GCU won 88-64, and really, I want to put it out there. It wasn't a bad night for the Texan offense. They shot 41% from the field, and it was just GCU hit 9 3-pointers and shot 49% from the field in the win. Also, GCU shot 17 more free throws and made 16 more free throws than Tarleton did in that ballgame. Another stat that sticks out from the Utah Valley game earlier today, Daryl, listen to this. Utah Tech was 7 of 8 from the free throw line. They were never in the bonus in the game. Utah Valley was 24 of 31 from the free throw line. Do the math.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know why.
Utah Tech, I haven't seen Trailblazer Met a lot this year, but they don't strike me as the most physical bunch in the conference.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned it last week. Home teams got to shoot a ton of free throws. I think it was Jason Waters, who was commented here a couple times. Home teams again got the benefit of the doubt on the whistle, at least most of them. I don't think all of them did. I think CBU shot more free throws than Abilene Christian. CBU was 16 of 21. Abilene Christian was 12 of 21. So that was a pretty even game. I'm looking at Southern Utah, Seattle U. I don't even know if I want to count that game just because Southern Utah didn't really attack the rim. They were 6 of 9. Both teams shot 9 free throws. So a couple of these games, the home team got a lot of whistles. And I'm not saying that they weren't deserved, but like the discrepancy, especially in the Utah Valley, Utah Tech game, was very interesting to watch.
I mean, that's just wild that, it was basically a 3-to-1 ratio.
Yeah, Jason said, yep, last week it was like 38 to 96 free throws. That's crazy for the home teams. The home team shot 96 free throws. That's nuts. At least I think it was one of the nights, right? It wasn't just the whole week. That's just one of the nights. Anyways, I don't envy officials because everything is scrutinized, everything's on video, and they are under the gun. I did read Tim Donaghy's book, the NBA ref, that was in that scandal, and he talked about it where, if you really want to make a paycheck, you're gonna maybe have a favorable whistle one way or the other sometimes, right? Because you don't want to get a bad review, especially from the home coaches and stuff like that. I don't know. It's just an interesting.
I used to ref volleyball. I never cared what coaches thought.
Yeah. Well,
then again, I never made it above Division II. So
let's see. Nolan, SU are the best in the WAC and are going to prove it in the standings in March. We're going to see. They go to UT Arlington on Thursday. And then they have to come back and host Utah Valley, who will probably be in Seattle before Seattle.
The Redhawks get back.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. How will they handle that long road trip to Texas just to come back and host the league-leading Wolverines? You're hoping that CBU kind of beats up on the Wolverines on Thursday night, but that'll be an interesting game. Great comment though. Seattle
last year or the year before that the Utah Valley CBU game in Riverside came down to a buzzer beater. I think it's in one of the clipped calls.
23. It was 2023. Okay. Trey Woodbury hit like a deep 3 that determined that ball game. It's actually in our intro.
Yeah.
Right. That Trey Woodbury hit that step back 3 to win that ball game in Riverside. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Daryl, let's get some thoughts on the women's games, and I'll share some thoughts on where I'm at with the men's games and the men's standings.
We'll start in Riverside, where ACU led basically cover to cover at CBU, had the Lancers down nearly 20 at one juncture. What a response by ACU after the 16-1 run to close against the Lopes on Thursday, allowing that 16-1 run to lose. To lead cover to cover at the defending champions, after making the Friday flight out here, that, Jared Olson said it when I talked to him afterwards, that shows a lot about the character of that ACU team. And, they're going to go home with a split of the week, but I think it's a split that they kind of have to feel good about considering the end of the Thursday game. And then let's see, we'll go to Cedar City. I mean, that was a game I had on the StatCast. Didn't get to watch it. I'm gonna watch it later. But you've got to feel good for Tracy Mason again. They finally break through and get a Division I win. Nice performance from Ava Urick. 15, 6, and 6. 15.6 rebounds, 6 assists. Sam Johnston, 12.6 rebounds, 3 of 7 from 3. And then we already said it, but what a week for Utah Valley. The Wolverines go 2-0 with a big win over previously undefeated UT Arlington, who is on the bye today, and then a 16-point win in the Old Hammer Rivalry to go to 3-2. Wolverines are off to a good start. They're going to play CBU Thursday on the return, and a different CBU team than the one that beat them Saturday last Saturday in Chloe Lemon's return by hitting 11 3-pointers. We're going to see how Jared Olson's team responds after dropping their first game of conference play.
Yeah, and the last time that CBU played in Orem, I think it was like
they lost last year.
391 game, like double overtime thriller.
Yep.
The Utah Valley ended up beating. I think that was the first loss for CBU, if I remember right.
No, the ACU double OT loss was before that.
That's right. So there was a thriller. I don't think this one's going to be in the Lockhart Arena. I think it's in the UCCU.
Is it in UCCU?
Yeah. So
and then
go ahead.
And then I think we kind of got to take a deep dive into that Tarleton State GCU game. Bill Brock's team gave themselves every opportunity to win that game. Like we said earlier, 57 points defensively should win you a good number of basketball games.
Well, they scored 1 point over like the last, I want to say, what was it? Over the last maybe 2 minutes?
Yeah. And it was like free throws.
They got it to 53-52 on a Tiara Brown technical. They made the 2 free throws, and then they had the ball, and then they turned it over on a travel, and then that was basically all she wrote. They couldn't score after that. Like, it was just I'm looking at the StatCast here. Yeah. So minute 49, Mania Little hits 2 free throws, 53-52. Then there's a turnover. Then they get a stop, and then a timeout by Bill Brock. But then then a jumper got blocked, and then they gave up an offensive board. Like, they just had chances, right?
They gave up 2 offensive rebounds on the Eric Strip free throws.
Yeah, and then they had a wide open 3-point look that Karen Sanford couldn't knock down. Like, it was perfect play out of the timeout.
It was the right look.
Yeah, and they couldn't knock it down. And then GCU gets the rebound, and that's all she wrote. So, I mean, a good ball game by Bill Brock's crew, but you got to win those close games. And kind of like what Chris Victor said, last Saturday when Seattle U got that 2-point win over ACU, that was our first close game win. That if you get one of those close games, finally you win one of those, confidence goes soaring, right? And you've seen what Seattle U has done the last 2 games in blowout wins over Utah Tech and Seattle U. So, I mean, Bill Brock's crew has got to get one of those close ones, because they've had 2 tough losses this week to CBU and to GCU that they were in both ball games and probably could have won too.
But when you look at the year over year, I mean, this was a week they lost by nearly 40 points last year.
Yeah.
Both games. So there's a lot for Tarleton fans to be proud of with that squad, and a lot more to come. You have to like the progress that has been made in Stephenville over the last year.
Yeah.
And then if you're Molly Miller, you go back to that hotel for that flight in the morning. Very fortunate to escape West Texas.
They may not even be going. They may have chartered out there, so they may be on their way home right now.
That was a 8 o'clock. Oh yeah, if they chartered out, they don't have to worry about flight times out of DFW.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know if they do it for the women's team. I know they do it for the men's team. So yeah, I mean, that's a gutsy performance, gutsy win, and they got it done. That's what a good team does, right? They've won 14 in a row, so they know how to win these kind of games. And, they have experience. Trinity San Antonio, one of the more experienced players on that roster. And then you have Laura Ericstrip, who's just a big body that can bang and score and rebound. And she causes a lot of problems for teams. So I think this is just my thought, Molly Miller learned from when she lost to Stephen F. Austin couple years ago in the WAC tournament, the size that Stephen F. Austin had, right? Then the year after that, Southern Utah, the size that Southern Utah had, right? And then last year, even though she had Laura Erickson, they didn't have the guard
Play to
like
complement
a
it.
perimeter shooting that they needed, like they do this year. So we'll see if Alyssa Durasco Frescas comes back, right? How if she's injured or if she's just sick. But they have the pieces now to where they can do what these other teams that have won WAC championships have been able to do. They have the bigs, they have the shooters, and they have floor leaders. And so that's why they're winning these kind of games is they have all of those pieces. And they have a target on their back every night. And sometimes it doesn't look pretty, but they're getting the job done right now. So you gotta be happy about that.
And they've got Southern Utah, Utah Tech this week at home. Two teams that have kind of struggled this.
They probably should be their winning streak should probably go to 16. Let's just put it that way.
17.
Oh, is it 15 right now?
Yeah, it's 15 now.
Oh, my bad. My bad, GCU women's basketball fans. I'm sorry. It was at 14 earlier tonight. Yeah, it's at 15. So they should be 19-2 after this next week. No offense to Southern Utah or Utah Tech, but I don't see the Lopes losing at home
to those two.
Yeah. So they should be undefeated and have a 17-game winning streak heading into.
And they're going to hit the meat and potatoes of the first round at the end of February with UT Arlington, CBU, all in those short turnarounds too. So
that February
rack up the wins while you can.
Valley will be interesting too.
What happened?
That February 1st game at Utah Valley, that rematch from earlier in Phoenix when they beat Utah Valley by 12. That'll be interesting. That February 1st game, like that could be. All eyes should be on Orem on that day. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, and here's the thing: Dan Nielsen has multiple wins over Molly Miller, and I think 2 of them were in Orem.
Yeah. Yep.
Both.
Yep.
Yeah, because he has 3 wins over her, and 2 of them were in UCCU Center.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Christian said, "Give GCU Duke unstoppable." Come on, man, you're kidding, right? Like, let's slow our roll there. GCU played much better this week against a bad ACU team and against a Tarleton team that has no size whatsoever, and they look good. I'm not going to take that away from them. I think the adjustment that Bryce Drew made with Mekhi Williams playing point guard was very, very good. Very, very smart, right? Because now it takes the ball out of Ray Harrison's hands, and he gets to play the 2, where he's naturally better than if he is at the 1. And then you got Tyna coming off, and now you got Traviar Jackson, the Tarleton State transfer, coming off the bench with Luke Ward. So they're it's better right now. They should win 2 games next week against Southern Utah and Utah Tech. February 1st, when they host Utah Valley, could be an interesting ball game, right? So I don't think they're on the caliber of getting to Duke yet. Let's just slow that roll. But they've been playing much better. Much better. Oh, anyways, credit to the GCU. Like I said, I've given credit to GCU this week. Looking at it, if they stay with this lineup that they have, the starting lineup, I think they're going to be the GCU we thought they were, because they have a true point guard. They move the guy that they had at point guard to his natural position at 2, and then you bring in the reigning WAC player of the year, the preseason WAC player of the year, and the WAC tournament MVP off the bench. So that's a 17, 18, 19 point per night guy coming off the bench. Then you got Luke Ward's length that could fill in for Duke Brennan. Then you got Traviar Jackson, who is just getting his feet under him because he wasn't expecting to play this year. With his length and athleticism, yeah, I think the WAC is.
You mentioned the Diego Pavia, ruling from the court. Curious to see how many student players burn that red shirt, thinking that ruling is going to apply to them.
I bet there's going to be a lot. And I bet he wouldn't have done it if it wasn't a sure thing or they felt it was a sure thing. So we'll see how it plays out. I'm very interested to see how it plays out, because Utah Valley, unless some of the guys, get bigger NIL money from the type of season they're having, has a few guys that would get that extra year too. So it'll be very interesting to see.
So I remember reading the NCAA said they were going to appeal the judge's ruling on that.
Yeah. Jason Waters Jackson is physical as well. Yeah, you know that because you're a Tarleton State fan and you saw him play last year. He's very physical. So, yeah, give credit to GCU and Utah Valley. You know, they went to UT Arlington, won on that buzzer beater by Jackson Holcomb in overtime. And then basically came out of the locker room at, the UCCU Center at halftime and took over that ball game and, did what they needed to do to stay unbeaten in WAC play. The only unbeaten team in the Western Athletic Conference right now, but they have a tough road trip. Like I said, at CBU on Thursday, at Seattle U on Saturday, and at Grand Canyon next Thursday. Yeah, we're going to get to know the Wolverines real well on the road over the next week and a half. So, good time.
Fans on the women's side, I'm kind of curious as to your thoughts of the day, kind of especially the way that, the ending of the Tarleton State GCU game played out. Did we kind of see the first chink in the armor from the Lopes? Did we see did we see an ACU team that is putting the pieces together in a different way today? Your thoughts on Utah Valley, with a 2-0 week? Let's hear some of those thoughts.
I don't know if they're gonna. We'll share the comments as they come in. I honestly, my thought on it. Geez, Detroit is getting boat. The Lions. Sorry guys, we're gonna go NFL score right now. The Lions are getting boat raced, 45-31. The Commanders, Jaden Daniels, and the Washington Commanders are going to go to the NFC Championship game. That's pretty freaking wild. Yeah, this is crazy. Guess that week off didn't help.
Let's see. Who's our resident Detroit Lions fan in the WAC? Oh, Skylar Young from Seattle U.
Yeah, he's probably not real happy right now. Who does this guy got? Oh, yeah.
Did that game up in Cedar end early enough for him to get to the hotel and watch that?
It might have. Yeah, good times. Anyways, anybody else have any thoughts before we shut down this straight out of WAC after hours? Again, Utah Valley on the men's side, 4-0 in WAC play, goes to CBU, Seattle U, and GCU in their next 3 games. So brutal 3-game stretch there for the team that's leading the WAC right now. GCU goes to Southern Utah and Utah Tech next week. Looking to stay hot after that loss to Utah Valley. Like I said, it might have awoken a sleeping giant. Bryce Drew's made a nice adjustment with his starting lineup. Utah Tech's got a pretty big week ahead. They have Thursday off before they host Grand Canyon on Saturday. Southern Utah hosts Grand Canyon and California Baptist this week. Seattle U is at UT Arlington, and then they host Utah Valley. Tarleton State is at Abilene Christian on Thursday, and then the Texans have off on Saturday as UT Arlington goes to Abilene Christian, and then the women's game is vice versa. So somebody said this. Somebody commented, a simple man. I don't know if you're bitter because the Mavericks are 0-4 in WAC play. I'll be honest. He said the league is down this year. Honestly, I don't think the league is down this year. Or the league is weak, right? I don't think so. I think it's a very good league. I think we're seeing teams beat up on each other. I think there's some teams that have glaring issues, such as an Abilene Christian with their lack of guard scoring. I don't consider Keon Williams a guard, just for, I've seen him play twice now, and he's not a guard. He's more of a 3-4 type, stretch 4 guy. UT Arlington, it's simple. Play defense without fouling. They foul so much. I think they're leading the league in fouls called. They're better than their 0-4 in WAC play record. Tarleton
they can get out of this hole and avoid the playing round, but they're going to have to play well for a couple of weeks here to do it.
Yeah. Tarleton State, they got to keep Chris Mpaka on the floor. If they keep him on the floor, they're fine. But he fouled out tonight early in the second half, and they don't have any bigs after him. I mean, not that Billy Gillespie's ever really had bigs outside of last year with Keandre Gaddy, but Billy Gillespie wasn't the coach then. It was interim acting head coach Joseph Jones who won the Coach of the Year. California Baptist, they're pretty balanced, but the inconsistency there when they're not hitting from the perimeter is kind of Southern Utah. I was high on them. They have struggled mightily. I think they've lost, I want to say, at least 7 of their last 8, maybe 8 of their last 9. Let's see. They lost to Arizona, New Mexico State, UTRGV, NAU, Grand Canyon. So that's 5. Tarleton State. That's 6. So they've lost 7 of their last 8 games, and the losses haven't been real pretty either. So I don't know. I don't think the league's weak. I think it's a good league. I think we're just seeing people beating up on each other, in this league, and that's what it's going to be like every night. Like that's just the way it's going to be.
Like when I talked with Jared Olson after the game, he basically said, I think we all believe that GCU is going to be at the top, and then it's going to be a jumbled up mess in the middle from 2 to about 7.
Yep. Well, I would say that about the men, but I don't know yet. Like, we'll see what Utah Valley does on this 3-game road trip. They have the ability to win all 3, but one, that CBU is going to be looking for some revenge after that game in Orem last week. Seattle U and Utah Valley, they always have barn burners between those 2 teams. And then GCU is going to be looking for a little payback of its own, by they were basically embarrassed in Orem, 2 weeks ago. So we'll see what Utah Valley is made of. I still think it's GCU's to lose, but Todd Phillips has his crew rolling right now. So it'll be very interesting to see. Mikey, I'm curious to see what GCU looks like when Dennis Evans and Sal Phipps are back. So a couple things on this. This is just my thought. I'll confirm it when I go down there on January 30th for that ESPNU game against Seattle U. I don't know that Dennis Evans is going to be back this season. I don't know that they're going to they may try to get a medical red shirt, so they may not play him at all. And I don't think they need him right now. Don't mess with what you have after these 2 games, right? Same with Styles Phipps. If he's not 100%, don't rush him back. You don't have to, because you figured out how to make your bench deeper by bringing Mekhi Williams off to be the 1 and bringing Tyon Grant Foster off the bench. Plus, you bring off Traviar Jackson. So now your bench is even deeper. So I don't know that you burn a medical red shirt potentially for Dennis Evans, and I don't know that you rush Styles Phipps back and mess with the chemistry that's already there after these 2 games. That's just my opinion. Am I wrong?
All right, Kyle. I pulled up the Warren Nolan projected finals for Thursday. This is going to be quite the dandy in Riverside if Warren Nolan is correct.
What's he saying?
70-69 CBU.
70-69 for CBU.
Is the projection.
Let me see what.
And then he's got ACU a 1-point favorite over Tarleton State.
Really?
GCU a 10-point favorite over Southern Utah. And then UT Arlington a 1-point favorite over Seattle U.
So on KenPom, KenPom has California Baptist beating Utah Valley 71-69 on Thursday. So that's interesting. Grand Canyon expected to beat Southern Utah by 7. That's it. Interesting. And it doesn't have Southern Utah, or it doesn't have Grand Canyon losing. KenPom doesn't. It has Utah Valley losing all 3 games on this 3-game road. KenPom does. It has them losing to California Baptist 71-69, has them losing to Seattle U 71-68, and has them losing to Grand Canyon 77-69, but then has them winning out after that. So
and you win the regular season title with 3 losses.
He doesn't have GCU losing the rest of the way. So yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting. It's very interesting to watch. So we'll see. We'll see. Anyways, you guys, we're going to shut it down tonight. We've gone on for about an hour now, 55 minutes. We appreciate you. See, Mikey, I get that. I think Dennis will be back. I just don't know that you bring him back. Like, why? Why mess with the chemistry? That's my thing. Why mess with the chemistry? If you keep winning games with the roster you got, don't mess with it. Like, there's no reason to. He's been warming up the last few games. You know, I know that they want that 7-footer, but like, don't mess with the roster when you're winning games. That's just my opinion. But anyways, you guys, we're going to tune out tonight. Appreciate the time. Remember to subscribe to the WAC Hoops Nation newsletter. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want. We appreciate all the support. And enjoy the rest of your Saturday. It's basically over. It's 9:30 here. I don't know what everybody else is doing with the rest of their night. But we'll see you on Thursday. Like I said, we're going to go about 7 p.m. Pacific time. I'll be at Fowler Event Center in Riverside for that ball game between Utah Valley and CBU on ESPNU. That is an 8 p.m. Pacific time tip-off. So national televised game. Very excited about that. Hopefully it's a good crowd. Star Wars night in Riverside, like Daryl said. And I'm not going to be dressed as anybody from Star Wars. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to be. I don't even know who I would be. Maybe Darth Vader because I have my CPAP machine. So, but we're not going to go there. Anyways, you guys, enjoy the rest of your night. Daryl, stay safe. And we'll see you all on the next episode of Straight Outta WAC After Hours.
Thanks for listening to the Straight Outta WAC podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other podcasting platforms. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Remember to follow WAC Hoops Nation on all your favorite social media platforms.